All right, so we are going to talk about, we're still on 2.2, and there are two topics we're going to talk about today. The first one is combining like terms, which we've talked about before, and the second one is we are going to talk about what to do when we have variables on both sides. And but when I say both sides, I'm talking about the equal sign. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with combining like terms. So we are going to work on solving. And so remember with solving, you are looking to isolate your variables. So number one, we have 2x plus 7x equals negative 27. So the nice thing about this problem is if I find my equal sign, it's right here. So if I were to cover up my pen here, my left side says 2x plus 7x. So I know 2x plus 7x is 9x. Then I have an equal sign, negative 27. And that's because I combined my like terms. Now, what do I do to solve this? Well, 9 is next to x, so it's being multiplied. So its inverse is to divide. And so I just use the multiplication principle. Okay? So now to solve this, I get x equals negative 3. And there we go. So again, I had like terms. I went from there, and then I used the multiplication principle. So moving on to number 2. I have negative 5x plus 9x equals negative 24. So again, I'm going to cover up my pen with the equal sign. If I take a look on the left side of the equal sign, it says negative 5x plus 9x. So negative 5x plus 9x is 4x. Then I have an equal sign, and then I have negative 24. So in this problem, again, I combine my like terms first. Then 4 is next to x, so I'm going to divide by 4, and I get x equals negative 6. And again, dividing by 4 means I use the multiplication principle. Okay, and so I'm just writing the steps so you know. Now, that has to do with like terms. So we've covered it before, we've seen it. So if I were to go in a little more depth of different practice problems, negative 2x minus 5 plus 9x equals... let's see, 9. Okay, so again, I locate my equal sign, which is right here, and I take a look here. Do I have any like terms? So in this problem, negative 2x and 9x, positive 9x, are like terms. So what I have to do first is combine my like terms. And that's because it's on the left side of the equal sign. So negative 2x plus 9x is 7x. I have a minus 5 still. Then I have an equal sign, 9. Okay. Now from here, it turns into a two-step problem. To get rid of the minus 5, I have to add 5, which is the addition principle. So then when I solve, I get 7x. This gives me 0. I have an equal sign, and that's 14. Now, 7 is next to x, so I divide by 7, and I get x to be 2. And again, dividing by 7 means I use the multiplication principle. All right, moving on to another idea. So like terms is something you're always going to do. It's what we've been doing since last chapter. Now, what about this type of problem? So negative 3x plus 8 equals negative 7x plus 5. So if I were to use my pen to cover up my equal sign, there is an issue. I have an x over here, and I also have an x over here. So just like we solve a basic problem up here, we are going to do this the same way. So the first thing is we need to apply the addition principle. So I need to start by taking my 7x and moving it over to that side. But how do I do that? So I'm going to do the addition principle. Because this is a minus, I am going to add 7x to my like term on the other side. So is it like term with 8 or the one with the x? Well, it's like term here. Okay, so that's my first step. Now when I do that, let's go ahead and find out what I get. When I add those together, I get 4x plus 8 equals. That gives me 0, and then I have a positive 5. So notice, I use the addition principle for my variable. Now from here, once I get to this step, it is just a two-step solve. So you should be a little bit quicker here. I subtract 8 from both sides. 4x equals, that gives me -3. 4 is next to x, so I divide. And so here's my answer of -3/4. And there we go. All right, so let's see a couple more problems here. And again, the nice thing about being on video is that at any point you can go ahead and pause it if you need to go back and take a look at anything. So I think we're on number 5. Sorry, number 5. 6x plus 5 equals -4x minus 9. Okay, so I'm going to highlight my equal sign. And so I have an x on this side and an x on the other side. So again, I'm going to look to move. So I usually try to move the variables to the left side, because usually that's how it works. So I have a -4x, so the inverse of a -4x is a plus 4x. And be careful where you put it. Here's my equal sign, so do I put it to the 5 or do I put it to the 6x? Well, I'm going to put it to the 6x, right? What's the reason for it? It's because they're like terms. So now this is where I add. That gives me 10x plus 5 equals. That gives me 0, and then I have a -9. Okay, now from here, I'm just going to go into the 2 steps. I subtract 5, 10x, that gives me nothing, equals -14. Divide by 10. And so x equals, well, -14 divided by 10 is a fraction that I need to simplify, which you've learned last unit. How do you simplify? Well, dividing by 2. So when I divide by 2, I get -7/5. And there we go. Okay, so the main goal is that we need to make sure that the variables all belong on one side and all of our values go on the other side. So if I were to put a super complicated problem, I would just say a lots of number type problem. So if I have 3 minus 4x minus 4 equals 2x minus 10 minus 3. All right, so, sorry, this should say 3x. So in this problem, I need to locate my equal sign, which is right here. And then I need to pay attention on each side what is happening. So I have 3 minus 4x minus 4. So actually 3, let me move that, and minus 4 are like terms. So 3 minus 4 is -1. Then I have a minus 4x equals. Now I have to deal with this side of the equal sign. So I have a 2x and a -3x. Those are like terms. So 2 minus 3x is -1x. And then I have a minus 10. Okay, so the first thing I did here is combine my like terms. Now, after I do that, I need to make sure, because a variable is here and here, I cannot combine them. No, okay? I have to move this to the other side. How? By the addition principle. So I'm going to add the 1x because it's a minus, and I take its inverse. So I use the addition principle. And I get, so let's find out, -1, that gives me 0. I'm sorry, that does not give me 0. That gives me -3x. Sorry, that's a 1. Equals, this gives me 0, and then I have a minus 10. Okay, so again, I'm back to the 2-step problem. I need to move the -1. How do I move it? By take its inverse, which is +1. That gives me 0. I have a minus 3x equals -9. Okay. Last but not least, -3 is next to x, so I divide by -3, and I get x is equal to +3. So notice, first in the problem, I take a look at this side, which is the left side, and I find its like terms. Take a look at this side, and I find its like terms. Then I no longer have like terms, and that's when I start moving things. And how do you move stuff? By the addition principle or the multiplication principle.